Alright, okay, Goosebumps number 46, How to Kill a Monster, take 1, let's go. So, right off the bat, R.L. Stine is throwing a rarity at us. A slightly less traditional family structure. Our POV protagonist is Gretchen, who is step-siblings with Clark. Her father married Clark's mother. I know it's not like the kids have 2 dads, or it's an interracial family or anything, but even just some parents got divorced and married other parents feels boundary breaking for Stine. We open with the family, complete with dog Charlie, loaded up in the car driving through the swamps of Georgia. The parents have some business meeting in Atlanta, so they're dropping off the kids at the home of Grandma Rose and Grandpa Eddie, Gretchen's grandparents, technically, and they live in a 3-story castle in the middle of the swamp. And not a generic swamp either, a proper American South swamp with cypress trees with the stuff hanging down. The castle itself is old, creepy, and there's probably Confederate gold hidden under the floorboards. Stine is really extending himself on this one. A swamp castle is a proper, memorable setting, which is good because the story itself isn't. The family gets lost for a bit, the car falls off the world's shortest, least necessary bridge, they get a flat tire, and they futz about in the swamp for a couple of easy chapter cliffhangers. Ah, glowing eyes coming from the swamp, it's a monster, oh no, it's just the dog. Finally, they arrive, and the grandparents are sweet, if lacking in conveniences. No telephone, no TV, their car is in the shop, and the place smells damp and sour. But hey, at least there's warm, home-cooked food. The tangy aroma of chicken pot pie floated through the air. Grandma placed one on my plate, and I began to dig right in. I was starving. As I lifted the fork to my mouth, Charlie sprang up from his place on the floor and started to sniff. He sniffed our chairs, the counter, the floor. He leaped up to the table and sniffed. "Charlie, stop," Dad ordered. "Down." Charlie jumped from the table. Then he reared up in front of us and curled his upper lip. He let out a growl. A low, menacing growl that erupted into loud barking. Furious barking. Oh, well, dogs sensing danger is a trope, so there must be something wrong with those chicken pot pies. Spoilers, but there's nothing wrong with those chicken pot pies. There's nothing weird in them, and the grandparents are not using them for nefarious purposes. There are plenty of dangerous things in this swamp castle, but the chicken pot pies aren't, so I don't know what this scene is for. Everyone goes to bed, and Mom and Dad leave early in the morning for Atlanta, leaving the kids and the dog behind to entertain themselves. Grandma is busy in the kitchen making blueberry pancakes for breakfast, but she's making way more than 4 people can eat in one morning. She's totally lost control of the kitchen, with batter and blueberries strewn all over the place. The kids don't know what to make of this kitchen disaster, but they eat their fill and go back to fussing about in the castle. While walking the halls, Gretchen spots Grandpa sneaking around, taking a huge stack of pancakes into a mysterious locked room. Either Grandpa likes to stress eat in private, or there's somebody else in this house. But it'll be a while before we get to that. The grandparents do warn the kids not to go into that room, that there's delicate antiques they don't want broken, but otherwise they let the kids explore the place unsupervised. And we get a bunch of unrelated scares with bugs hiding in boxes and Clark sneaking around and going boo. Finally, at the halfway point of the book, we get to the actual story. Gretchen and Clark play hide and seek. And what could be a better hiding place than the Forbidden Room? So Gretchen opens the door and takes a look inside. A living, breathing monster, at least 10 feet tall, standing inside the locked room. I gaped at his big, furry body, a body like a gorilla, with leaves and tree roots and sand tangled in his fur. His head was scaly, with snapping rows of jagged alligator teeth. I hope that new King Kong vs. Godzilla movie keeps in the bit about their torrid love affair and the child that resulted from that passion. Yep, the mystery room is keeping a monster, a proper Muppet monster, which sees Gretchen, starts howling, and gives chase in the winding halls of the swamp castle. Soon Clark sees the monster too, and the kids rush to find their grandparents, only to hear a car pull out of the front lawn. It seems the shop had just returned their vehicle, and now the kids are left home alone, in a dark swamp castle in the middle of nowhere with a bloodthirsty monster wandering the halls. Thankfully, the grandparents have left 2 notes on the fridge that can offer the kids some context. It seems this swamp monster just wandered in one day, and the grandparents managed to lock it in a room. Unsure what to do with it, they began carefully feeding it, hence Grandma making way more food than necessary. And so they were waiting for their car to be fixed so they could go get help in dealing with this monster. And then the kids showed up. My knees started to wobble as Clark continued reading. "We didn't want to tell your parents about the creature. If we did, they wouldn't let you come. We don't get many visitors here. We wanted so much to see you, but I guess we were wrong. You should have gone to Atlanta with your mother and father. I guess we were wrong to let you stay." "They guess they were wrong? They guess?" I shrieked. "Can you believe them?" Gretchen is pissed off reading through that first note, calling her grandparents out for their selfishness and stupidity. It's a rare moment of self-awareness from Stein. You don't get a lot of lampshading in this series. It's still lazy, though. Acknowledging the laziness of your writing doesn't stop it from being lazy. Grandma and Grandpa really dropped the ball in this one, as they have locked the kids into the castle, unaware that the monster has escaped. There's one final instruction on this first note. If the monster escapes, the kids will have to find a way to kill it. That word, kill. Not a common word in children's media in the 90s, and they do mean it. The goal of this book is ending this creature's life. You know, if the grandparents are cool with killing it, they could have starved it, but whatever. We're finally at the main course. 2 children and a dog running around a castle, being chased by a monster, and trying to come up with different ways to kill it. And that's fun. If it wasn't fun, we wouldn't see this kind of thing in horror video games, the slow but unstoppable monster that pursues you endlessly. There's some classic slasher vibes in there too, but mostly my brain went back to the original Clock Tower for the Super Famicom. Gretchen and Clark first lead the monster up a set of very broken and unstable stairs, and the monster plunges down a few stories. But that's not enough. It just gets up and continues pursuing. Next, they find some pies that Grandma made and decide to poison them in a very easy for the children at home to replicate way. Turpentine, drain cleaner, rat poison, ammonia, paint, just whatever you can find under the sink, kids. Just put it in that pie. The monster eats the poisoned pie, but seems to like it. These substances don't have a negative effect. We could probably do with a few more monster murder attempts, but it took half the book for the monster to even show up. So before you know it, we've got 10 pages left. Finally, the monster corners the kids in a room, grabs Gretchen, and licks her arm in anticipation of eating her. And then, the twist. The monster raised his hands and clutched at his throat, choking on something. He raised his wet eyes to me. You human, he choked out. He can talk, Clark gasped. You human? You human? He demanded. Yes, I'm a human, I stammered. The monster threw back his head and groaned. Oh no! I'm allergic to humans! His eyes rolled up. He staggered forward and collapsed against the door to the outside. So that's how you kill a monster. By doing nothing. Alright, so if the monster is allergic to humans, and it knows it's allergic to humans, and it knows how fatal his allergies are, then how can he not know what a human is? It's not like when you have a peanut allergy, and somebody doesn't disclose that they fried this food in peanut oil or something. This is like having a peanut allergy, knowing you have a peanut allergy, and how fatal your peanut allergy is for you, and you see a bowl of peanuts, and you somehow don't identify them as peanuts, and you casually eat a handful. The kids finally manage to escape the castle, running out into the swamp in hopes of walking to town. But wait, there were 2 notes on the fridge. They finally read the second note, which warns them about going out into the swamp, which is full of those same monsters. The book ends with the kids realizing they've been surrounded by growling, hungry beasts. The end. So the core element of this book, children running around a creepy castle in the middle of the swamp, trying to home alone their way into killing this monster, that stuff is fun. The castle meets swamp setting is great. The kids are dull, but at least aren't actively aggravating like a lot of Goosebumps kids, so that's a plus. So yeah, a decent central core idea here. Everything else around it, however, is pretty crap. So let's get into the rewrite. First fix, restructure. There's way too much chaff before we get to the wheat here. Start the book with a family arriving at the castle. Cut the stuff with the flat tire, falling off the world's shortest bridge. We don't need any of that. I'll agree to a scene of the kids hearing strange noises from the swamp as they're going from the car to the castle. But the sooner we get to the monster stuff, the more time we have with the monster stuff. We do need to establish the layout of this castle and give it a proper creepy vibe, but let's cut the fake out chapter cliffhanger scares down by about half. I want enough page space for at least one additional attempt at the kids killing this monster. Okay, second fix. We gotta do something about these grandparents. Lampshading is not enough. These two characters are woefully negligent in a way that takes you out of the story. Even if you bought the idea that they were lonely, that they thought they had the monster under control and could have the children over safely, then why did they rush out the second they had a working car? And if they thought the danger was immediate, why didn't they take the kids with them? Okay, Gretchen, Clark, I'm sorry we weren't clear with you, but we're gonna have to drive into town, get you set up in a motel. You can watch Nickelodeon while we get the police. It's just nonsense. The actions of these grandparents only make sense if they let the monster loose on the kids on purpose. So let's have it so that the grandparents let the monster loose on the kids on purpose. In 1846, 150 years ago, the land was claimed by some poor Georgian family who couldn't produce much in this swamp. They couldn't grow anything. Then, one day, the head of the family discovers this hidden civilization of swamp monsters. Discover they can talk and they have magical powers. And they work out a deal. The swamp monsters know how to grow things on this land, and they show the family how, on the condition that once the families have made enough to move, they do so, and give the swamp monsters back their land. If they fail to do so, the monsters will be repaid by the flesh of your descendants. So the family starts growing things, they make money and decide, no, let's not leave. And they build a castle on this stolen land. Cut to 150 years later, Grandma and Grandpa, direct descendants in some manner to the original family, are living their days out in this castle. And they're aware of this deal with the swamp monsters, but they believe it to be an old family superstition. Then, bam, a swamp monster knocks down the front door, here to claim what is owed to it. I'm gonna eat ya. The grandparents trick the monster into a room, lock it up, seal it away, and panic. How do we stop it? We can't kill it. This deal has a deep, dark magic to it that makes the swamp monsters invulnerable to harm when attacked by members of this family. The only way the monster will stop is if some descendants get eaten. Oh, hey, our son just called and wants to know if we'll watch the kids for a week. If we give these kids to the monsters, they'll leave us alone. So, now, the grandparents leaving the kids alone with this monster is an actively malicious and clearly motivated act. Okay, third and final fix, the ending. The allergic reaction ending is unearned and isn't as clever as I'm sure Stein thought it was. So the kids learn this history as they run through the castle. Maybe they find the magical contract their great-great-great-great-great-grandparents signed. Gretchen leads the charge in all these attempts to kill the monster, but because of the magic in that contract, she can't actually inflict harm on it. If you're born into or marry into the family, everything you do the swamp monster, it just laughs off. Oh, you knocked me off these stairs? Haha, you can't hurt me. Oh, you poisoned this pie? Haha, you can't hurt me. But then Gretchen realizes Clark wasn't born into the family. He's not really married in. Clark's mother is, but Clark kept his father's last name. Clark has been a total scaredy cat this entire adventure, but with Gretchen's encouragement and coaching, it's a sibling bonding moment, really. Clark manages to do something, maybe drop a chandelier on the monster's head, and that actually works. The monster is dead. Now, Gretchen and Clark being step-siblings don't have to be set up for something. I think it's cool if that's just an incidental detail, but the ending of this book has no setup, and using the familial relationships of the siblings allows for an economic setup to a payoff that's actually earned while saving up page space. Everybody wins. The kids leave the house, the monster defeated, and what do they find but Grandma and Grandpa in their car not a block away from the castle? It seems that, in their haste to pull off this evil plan, they forgot to fill up on gas. They say there's a gas can in the shed, but hurry, because more monsters are rising from the swamp and will be here any minute. Gretchen and Clark look at each other, shrug, and keep walking, leaving the grandparents to their fates. And that's how you kill a monster. This version definitely needs a lot of fine-tuning and a lot of care and consideration for its historical Confederate background. But I think it keeps the fun core of the original book while giving the rest of the story so much more purpose. You lampshade to smooth out minor bumps in the plot. You can't lampshade a plot into existence. I give How to Kill a Monster yarn out of 10.